One of the world's leading crypto exchanges has launched in Australia, setting its sights on local investors keen to try out their hand on cryptocurrency. The international push follows the example of many other major cryptocurrency exchanges, with Binance moving into Malta and Coinbase looking towards Japan. Huobi already has markets in Singapore, the US, London, Japan, Korea and Hong Kong. To tell us more about it, we have Huobi Australia's CEO, Adrian Harrison, in our Melbourne studio. Adrian, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for your time, Annabelle.
So tell us a bit about your background. You've come from a very traditional financial services company like Goldman Sachs and HSBC. Why the move to cryptocurrencies?
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, I've been nearly 20 years in more traditional capital markets roles, particularly working up in Asia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Beijing. Something became very evident to me, particularly post-financial crisis, and with all the regulations that were coming into the banking, finance space and capital markets, was the need for technology to solve some of these operational and regulatory issues, or the operational issues coming out of those new regulatory regimes. So I saw where the capital markets were going in terms of solving for those issues, and joined a UK-listed fintech company that solved for some of those operational issues within capital markets. They had cloud-based products that sat on a blockchain. So after having seen the power of what that sort of technology could solve for, I was even more of a believer in blockchain particularly, and it's the transformational nature that we'll have on our society, and particularly for financial markets. So when Huobi offered me to come down and set up the first global crypto exchange in Australia, I thought, what a wonderful opportunity, so I'm very excited.
Excellent. So, like you said, you're opening the first international crypto exchange here in Australia. Just perhaps explain a bit about what that is and how it will work for interested investors.
Sure. So probably the best known cryptocurrency in the world is obviously Bitcoin, but there's almost 1,800 coins in the world. So a digital currency exchange or a crypto exchange allows people or investors to come on, register, pass the registration requirements that we have and that all exchanges in Australia have, and then go on to the exchange and either buy or sell cryptocurrencies. So what we're offering to the Australian public is access to various coins, Bitcoin, Ether and others, using Australian dollars. So we call that a fiat on-ramp into the crypto space. Now over time, in the next month, we'll be offering a coin-to-coin offering, so you could use, as an example again, Bitcoin to buy Ether. So that would be a trading pair that we would put on, and then throughout the remainder of the year, we'll be adding other coins, and some of those will be coins that are associated with local Australian blockchain projects.
I see. So a lot of Australians have had access to platforms like Coinbase and CoinSpot. How exactly does your exchange differ to these platforms when it comes to buying cryptocurrencies?
Sure. So Coinbase is a US registered fund, a US registered exchange. We are regulated by AUSTRAC in Australia. That's the relevant government regulator here. We have to put in place an anti-money laundering, a counter-terrorist financing regime, and work with the regulator to implement that and make sure that investors are complying with that. So with that government regulation that our exchange has to abide by, investors in Australia should get additional comfort because such regulation actually affords some additional protection and gives confidence. So For an Australian investor, there is an advantage for going with an Australian exchange like ourselves. The other exchange you mentioned was CoinSpot. CoinSpot is also a local exchange. They've, without talking too much about our competitors, they've traditionally been more of a broker of coins, so they would accept orders and go to other exchanges. However, I do understand more recently they've actually started up a direct exchange facility. But I think, importantly from our point of view, what we're bringing to the market is world-class security, and I can talk about Huobi in more detail, but Huobi, being one of the largest 3 crypto exchanges in the world, has amongst the best technology in the world. So we'll have, amongst the most number of trading pairs, best liquidity, tightest spreads between buy and sell, and very competitive rates, as well as 24/7 customer service. So that's the value proposition we're bringing to the Australian investor.
I see, and that's very important, the checks and balances that you've put in place, particularly because there's differing opinions about whether cryptocurrency is a legitimate investment and asset class. So why Australia? What has been attractive about this country for you to start this exchange here? Australia's obviously, it hasn't got the largest population, but it's got a very sophisticated financial services sector and very sophisticated investors here. So it's obviously very attractive to us in the long term to be tapping into some of the institutional money that's out there, and further along the track, although we're nowhere near that at the moment, is the superannuation pool. But we have a lot of high net worth individuals, hedge funds and asset management firms here that over time will, with greater regulation and greater protection, will be attracted to our platform, hopefully. So another aspect that's been very attractive to Huobi has been the progressiveness of the regulators in the Australian market. I would say certainly AUSTRAC, ASIC and ATO, the tax authority, would be amongst the top 5, collectively would be amongst the top 5 in the world in terms of regulators and progressiveness towards the crypto sector. So that's very positive for us. We want regulation. With regulation comes increased investor confidence. Investors come into the space. That attracts talent into the space, particularly from financial services industry that have the knowledge of the processes that can further add to that regulatory discussion with regulators, which leads to further confidence. So you've got that positive feedback loop going on. So we definitely encourage regulation. It brings legitimacy to the industry, and we look forward to working very closely with regulators. Excellent very much, Adrian, for telling us a bit about the exchange. I'm sure there's a lot of investors out there that are watching. In Australia.